All right, hi, and welcome back, Attorney Steve. We are back. Been super busy lately, so I'm sorry for the break in the videos, but we are back. We are talking about Voir DIre. Voir DIre. It's a hard word to say. Voir DIre, some people call it. Voir DIre. And basically, here is a Malibu media case. This is one of those illegal download, illegal file sharing cases. But I want to show you just real quick, as I was doing some research today, wanted to show you a little bit, take a break and show you what Voir DIre means, Voir DIre. And basically, this is a old Latin phrase, or maybe French phrase, I think, actually, which is basically about speaking the truth, jurors telling the truth, jurors telling it as it is. And it really is just a bunch of questions for jury. When you get that jury notice and you got to go in for jury duty, you sit there, and this is really the lawyers asking you questions to find out if you're biased or not, see if they want to keep you on the jury or kick you off. Okay, so that's really what it is. So each lawyer is allowed to ask you questions. But I came across this. I thought it was interesting, dealing with Malibu media. So here is what they asked the jury. This is a case from 2013, really what they call the Bellwether case. I'll do another video on Bellwether, tell you what that is, but essentially just a consolidation of cases you can see here. But this is in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. This was a case Malibu media suing John Doe defendants, several defendants. And what happened is the judge consolidated the cases, made it a quote-unquote bellwether trial, and this proceeded. And really all the defendants settled, I think. I think one decided to push it to a jury trial and ended up with a pretty big judgment being entered, mainly because he was fabricating evidence. He said that he wiped his hard drive was never wiped, and it turns out that he eventually ended up admitting to that. But let's take a look at the questions, and if you want more information on that, there's the case number up at the top for you. But let's take a look at this. It is our purpose here today to select from among you a group of individuals to serve as jurors in a civil dispute involving the plaintiff and my client, Malibu Media, it's their client, not mine, and defendants. I'm about to ask you a series of questions that are designed to assist the court and the attorneys representing the parties involved in the dispute in determining whether there is any reason why you should not sit as a juror in this particular dispute. The questions that you will be asked are not intended to offend you in any way and are not being asked simply out of anyone's personal curiosity. Instead, the questions are intended to see if there is anything in your background that might affect your ability to fairly weigh the evidence to be presented without any bias for or against any of the parties. So let's be honest, you're looking for jurors that might be for your client, and you'll see in some of the questions I'm asking here. Please listen carefully to each of the questions as we go through them. If you have any questions, problems during the process, please raise your hand. So there's some basic stuff, just telling them a typical court day will begin at 9 a.m. and end at 4:30 p.m. with 2 breaks. This way you will have the afternoon free to carry on with your lives. The trial is expected to last, where'd we go? The trial is expected to last 3 to 5 days. Please raise your hand if you would find it difficult or impossible to participate for this period of time. Now remember, the judges are real reluctant to let people off of jury duty, so you got to have really good reasons, okay? Maybe there's a surgery scheduled, okay? Different things like that. 2, please raise your hand if you have a physical disability, such as a hearing or vision problem that would impede your ability to see, hear, or understand the evidence. 3, please raise your hand if you have difficulty in understanding the English language. Next, I would like to provide you with the names of the parties and witnesses in this case. Please pay careful attention because in a few minutes I will ask you whether any of you have met any of these people before or have had any dealings or other connections with any of them. So there may be, you want to see if you know any of the parties that could lead to a bias or a prejudice. Number 4, please raise your hand if you've ever heard of or been acquainted with any of these parties or their attorneys or any persons employed in the same offices as the attorneys. Obvious. 5, please raise your hand if you either know the judge or anyone on the court staff. 6, please raise your hand if you've heard about this lawsuit. Now, there may have been some news on this because this was one of the first cases, I think it's the first, the Bellwether, where the court put together a bunch of these torrent cases, illegal downloads, with Malibu media cases and basically said, hey, are you willing to proceed? Are you going to actually pursue these claims? Do you actually have the evidence? And that was what went on here. So Some of the jurors may have actually heard about it in various publications. So let's see what else we have. Going down. 7, please raise your hand if you have a personal interest in the outcome of this case, meaning that right now you are aware that you have something to gain or lose. So any financial interest, personal interest. 8, and here's where you can start asking questions to start seeding the jury or planting seeds, as they say. Please raise your hand if you are an author, musician, artist, or filmmaker, or if you have an author, musician, artist, or filmmaker in your family. So they're looking for those kinds of people. Obviously, they're movie makers, adult pornography movies, and they want to see if you know someone that may be just like them. Number 9, please raise your hand if you know what a copyright is. So that could elicit maybe some follow-up questions. Number 10, please raise your hand if you believe that authors, musicians, artists, or filmmakers should be compensated for their creative work. That sounds natural. Everybody says, yeah, sure, absolutely. They're working hard. Sure, they should be compensated. But if somebody doesn't raise their hand, you go, we could have some problems with this person. And they could exercise a right to get them off the jury. So let's see. Please raise your hand if you believe that authors, musicians, artists, or filmmakers should not be compensated. Same issue. Okay, let's go over here. If I can get over here, let's see what else we got. Please raise your hand if you or anyone you know has ever been accused of or sued for copyright infringement. That could bring out some bias. Somebody's been a defendant in one of these cases and they raise their hand. They say, well, you're out of here. Please raise your hand if you use a computer on a regular basis. Please raise your hand if you do not use a computer on a regular basis. Please raise your hand if you work in a computer-related field. You may have some special technical knowledge, which may be good for them. 16, please raise your hand if you have any formal training, which would give you an above-average computer skill set. And let's say you know forensics. You have a degree in forensics and you really understand it. That may help them as well. 17, please raise your hand if you use the internet on a regular basis. If you don't know what a torrent is, they're probably going to have a hard time convincing you of how things work. 18, please raise your hand if you do not use the internet on a regular basis. 19, please raise your hand if you or anyone in your family has ever downloaded movies or music, books, or movies over the internet. That's probably a lot of people. Number 20, please raise your hand if you or anyone in your family has used a peer-to-peer file sharing program like Napster. Remember Napster, good old Napster? LimeWire, Grokster, BitTorrent, or any other similar program to download music, books, or movies over the internet. So they want to see if you're cool with that. Is it something you do on a routine basis? You may side with the defendants. 21, please raise your hand if you believe that all of the music, books, or movies that you can download on the internet should be free. Now, a lot of kids are growing up, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of people coming from other countries, people that don't know copyright law. They come in, and I'm not saying it's not just them, it's people that live here as well. But they don't understand copyright law. They don't know that you shouldn't be sharing copyrighted content. A lot of people the younger culture, I believe, is coming up with a sort of a philosophy that things should just be free and copyright should loosen up a little bit. But we'll see. It's part of the creative culture, the sharing culture. If you want to know more about it, look at Creative Commons licensing. That kind of sprung up. I have a great video on that if you want to know more about it. Google Attorney Steve, Creative Commons, another great video put out by yours truly. All right, please raise your hand if you believe that the authors of music, books, or movies that you can download on the internet have a right to charge money for the works. So they're looking for somebody on their side on that, which we talked about. Please raise your hand if you've ever been a party to a lawsuit. Please raise your hand if you've ever been on a jury before. And so forth and so on. So that gives you an idea. I could probably go down and try to find some more here, but that gives you an idea, and I'm not going to belabor this, but that gives you an idea how it works, what voir dire is, and how it may work in your case. So if you ever get called to the jury, they're going to swear you in to tell the truth, tell it as you see it, and they're going to ask you these questions. So that's it. Attorney Steve just wanted you to get a little taste of voir dire, as they call it. And if you have any questions, need help with civil litigation, intellectual property, entertainment law, California, you know where to find me on the web at attorneysteve.com. Have a great day. I got to get back to work. This was just a short break to bring my special peeps out there a little love, a little law, okay? Have a great day. We'll talk to you again.